have such sights to show you.
The Toxic Avenger is coming to your town. Look out.
The 1980s were such a flush decade for horror that entire studios cropped up and left their own mark on the genre. And one of the ones that has experienced a bit of love recently is the studio known as Troma and the works of Lloyd Kaufman. This movie just got a remake this year, and well, it's time to talk about the original, The Toxic Avenger. But to help join me, I had to get someone who knew a little bit about the Toxic Avenger. He is a former Toxic Avenger champion, Steve Mesa. Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining.
No, thank you for having me. As a one-time former FSCW Toxic Crusader champion, I'm glad that you got me on so we can talk almost about everything it's about Traumaville. And for people who watch it, it could be considered Traumaville. I mean, from when we talked about it, it's probably created certain traumas for you, Jacob. But we'll probably talk about that later.
Yeah, we will get to that. But just a bit of history. Troma is a studio that has been around for a very long time from director Lloyd Kaufman. And Lloyd Kaufman has been around for decades in horror, like all throughout. He started off a little guy named James Gunn. James Gunn got his start on a movie called Tromeo and Juliet. And look where he is now. He's spearheading the DCU and doing a bang-up job with that. So we all got to start somewhere. With The Toxic Avenger, though, this was released in 1984, and it tells the story of a lowly janitor named Melvin, who, in a comically, just over-the-top bullying session, he gets thrown into a vat of toxic acid that is conveniently left by the gym that he works at, because the 80s, I guess. And he in turn becomes the Toxic Avenger. That's your plot. And this movie this is one of the big cult following movies that I have come across. There are people that love this movie, and there are people that despise this movie. I'll be the first to admit that I am not a huge fan. There's parts of it that definitely are very gross and have not aged well, but I get why people do like it, and I also I have a weird appreciation for the artistry behind it. It's definitively in the camp of, I admire what he did, and I still don't like it. And I know that makes no sense to some of you, but to me, it's like, I admire the artistry, just my personal taste. I was just not really a fan. Not really say it's a piece of trash, I hate it, but I guess it's just not for me. I can just put it like that.
I mean, for sure. I mean, it's trauma movies are definitely of an acquired taste. For a lot of people, I mean, it could range from tasteless to just poorly made. But some of it, for me, I think this movie, despite some of the most despicable things that happen in this movie, there's some heart in this movie. I mean, you have Toxie falling in love with a blind girl. Now, if the blind girl playing for gags, they sure are, for sure. There's a whole bunch of blind sight gags there, but I honestly think it has a little more heart than you would expect in a movie like this, especially a movie made around 1984 when it's just about a mutant just murdering people left and right. Now he's murdering people who are legitimately bad people, but nonetheless, a lot of the people who he kills, do they get their comeuppance?
It kind of reminded me a little bit of The Crow and how Eric Draven is killed at the start of the movie and then takes his revenge on all the guys that that played a part in his death. I don't know. Weird connection to make, but I made that connection.
I mean, it's a good connection. I mean, it's you rise from the, if you get killed, you rise from the dead and you go on to kill your killers. I mean, we've had met. I mean, hell, you can even say, RoboCop. RoboCop is like that too.
That's very true. Yeah, I mean, I like the scene where Kurtwood Smith's like na 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 bang, still gets me every time. It's scary stuff. But the the main star of the movie is Mitch Cohen, and this is like one of 3 movies that he plays the Toxic Avenger, the titular character. According to his Letterboxd, he only has 3 credits. This, Citizen Toxie, which is the 4th Toxic Avenger movie, and Clerks, the Kevin Smith movie. So that's a very interesting set of credits right there.
You know which guy he plays in Clerks?
Who?
He's the guy that Dante tells his girlfriend, "Hey, don't be sucking any dicks on your way to the parking lot." And the guy just chases after his girlfriend, like, "Hey, don't you dare!" That's him. That's Mitch Cohen.
That's the guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, there's just like this. The movie just starts off, and it sets the tone from the very beginning. I'll give it that. Like the most 1980s over the top gym. You would expect someone like Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage to be working out in this gym. Like everyone's sweating, everyone's like wearing headbands and bright colors. There's music blasting. The only one that sticks out is Melvin, which credit where credit's due. They clearly know like set up who you're supposed to be rooting for from the very beginning. There's no ambiguity whatsoever. I did appreciate that.
A lot of gyrating going on. I mean, definitely, this movie definitely had a lot of cocaine, and you wouldn't have been surprised if maybe Hulk Hogan's Randy Savage were probably vying for the title of Toxic Avenger. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if they were all up on that drugs during that day.
Definitely, I don't think this movie took place in Miami, but if it did, it would not surprise me.
Tromaville is very askew to Miami. It is like it's like Jersey, but a dirtier version of Jersey.
I can definitely see that, yeah. And one more thing I will praise, though, is the fact that the Toxic Avenger, like when Melvin finally becomes the Toxic Avenger, it's like the makeup and the effects honestly look like they look really cool. Like, I'm not going to lie and just say, like, when I think of the Toxic Avenger, I'm like, oh, well, that of course makes total sense. So I'll give all the props in the world to the makeup department because they brought their A game.
Yeah, the makeup in this movie, the gore, this practical effects, the gore effects, even some of the most despising gore effects. We'll probably get there when we get there. But it's great, especially when you have one of the people. I don't know her last name, but I know her first name is Jennifer. She's actually one of the people that helped create the effects for Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. So the fact that she came from Trauma and worked and has done so much work on, she also did Westworld. She's done a lot of TV, a lot of movies, and has up to that and had up to the as recent as I know done Dungeons and Dragons. Shows you how much she's been in that business from '84 to 2025. So she's been in a long business and she's still kicking, more or less kicking, but she's still around making great effects. Because in recent years, Dungeons and Dragons, to go off topic, Dungeons and Dragons in terms of their practical effects are probably the best practical effects that I've ever seen in terms of that's not a horror related movie. I mean, you actually see these guys and the behind the scenes too in terms of how they achieve that type of stuff. It's just fantastic. So to see her work on Toxic Avenger to how she went up to come up for her work has evolved to such a degree that it's incredible, uncanny. Even back in the day, it was uncanny to make. Wow, they made this guy up for like 6 hours and he looks like that. It looks very sickening but cool.
I believe her last name's Jennifer Pritchard.
Jennifer Pritchard, yes.
And yes, she did a great job. Just so I'm clear, you're referring to the most recent Dungeons and Dragons movie we got like a year or so ago, Honor Among Thieves, that one?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, the effects were really good in that one. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting with the more I look into like Lloyd Kaufman and all that, I'm like, he kind of reminds me a lot of Roger Corman, and that Corman had a lot of future greats pass through as actors, directors, writers, editors, and they would go on to do much better things. James Gunn, like I mentioned, like he started at Trauma and look at where he is now. So Trauma kind of like very definition of B movie aside, like there was still a lot of talent that walked through the doors there and would go on to do better things. Jennifer Pritchard, like you mentioned. So there's definitely some credence to to their existence, and how like you can just look at their existence and go, they didn't make great stuff, but they helped people find their stride. And I appreciate that.
I mean, he made a platform for people to be creative, to do their own thing. Not only that, it also got James Gunn started. It also got Trey Parker started. Matt Stone got started in Trauma. Oliver Stone got started in Trauma. J.J. Abrams got started in Trauma. And not only the filmmakers, but also you have actors such as Samuel L. Jackson, Kevin Costner, Billy Bob Thornton, Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei is in this movie. She's in that movie. She's the girl that screams when she's. That's Marissa Tomei when Toxie's chasing the mean blonde chick. So yeah, I mean Vincent D'Onofrio, Carmen Electra. So it's like so many people in that movie. There's so many people. Graduation Day. That's a trauma movie too. I don't know if you know that. Graduation Day is a horror movie. It's not a Lloyd Kaufman movie, but it's still under the trauma banner by Vanna White. So there's so many people that has come from the trauma studio that have developed it and made their skills in acting and filmmaking and involved it in a way. Hell, dude, I mean, just a lot of there's a lot of political commentary in this movie that can basically be said about our current politics. If I mean, and you have Stone and Parker doing their best Lloyd Kaufman impression in South Park and just rizzing on our current president and the administration and the FCC and everything like that. So I mean, I'm not surprised that they came from trauma to be able to do the things that South Park is doing, whether it's back when they started in '97 to what they're doing now.
I agree. And like I said, this movie, as we've alluded to, in terms of the content, is it's your mileage is going to vary. Like Steve, you said off camera, an acquired taste. Like your mileage is definitely going to vary. Let me just paint a picture for you. The villains in the movie, after bullying Melvin, they drive drunk. It gets worse. And then they not just run over a kid on a bike, but then back up and run him over again. That's the kind of movie that this is. So, and I'm not trying to dissuade anyone. I'm just saying that is a scene in the movie. And if you're one of those it's not for me, then I totally get it. After that point, I had to stop. I paused it. I just had to be they allowed this in 1984. I get it. It was 1984, so it was a different time than what we have now. It was 40 years ago. But I still was just wow, they would never do that today. They'd never be able to get away with something like that today.
I don't know about that, man. I mean, you seen the coffee table? Don't see it if you're not into that.
I've seen the coffee table. It was a
okay.
brutal one.
So I mean, they can sort of kind of get away with stuff like that, and this is for the people who, if you know. So that's what I'll say about the coffee table. If you know. But I mean, dude, this was because we also had blaxploitation and all this other stuff happening before happening. So a lot of the stuff happened, and this was an independent movie. This wasn't a movie that you'll see in good old General Cinemas on 49th Street or Movie Go Hialeah or one of those. These are movies that you see on like in not porno theaters, but porno adjacent theaters. Theaters that are more likely to show movies such as this, and Bay of Blood or the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, or any of those type of movies, the whole Rocky Horror Picture Show movies. Those are the theaters that would run the Toxic Avenger, and even those were risky. Those movies I mentioned were risque back in the day, 74, 75, and 63, I believe. The the Godfather of gore. I'm not surprised it is, but it definitely stooped to levels, especially with that. They're having it was GTA before GTA became cool, where you can have point system just to either beat up the elderly or run over a kid.
Or a litany of other things you can do in that game, but that's another story for another time. The point is that to your point, yeah, Coffee Table's brutal. Like that movie, I had to watch it in settings. I stopped it, I came back, and then I came back again. That's what happened to me. But I think what you were referring to, would this count as Grindhouse, or would that be something else?
I mean, I would actually think. I mean, it's at that time I would consider it probably on the last. It would be considered Grindhouse on the last stages of Grindhouse, because I think those particular movies also fall under blaxploitation and horror, and some of those Hammer films were kind of Grindhouse films. So I would consider it a Grindhouse film, a Grindhouse type of film. They were making those type of movies back in the day. Hell, we're still trying to make those type of movies now. We're still trying to replicate how Grindhouse movies are made. You can even say the latest Toxic Avenger is a Grindhouse movie. Now it's made really good, but it has a lot of stuff that are very questionable for others, some entertaining for others. I mean, again, going off this point, I prefer the remake more than the original. But that's a whole different story. But yeah, I think even right now we're still trying to recreate the Grindhouse experience. But this is as gritty as a movie to get. I mean, they have they have minority jokes, they have homophobic jokes, they have blind jokes, they have fat jokes. I mean, every minority probably got offended in this movie, and that was just how it was in the day, and that's just Lloyd Kaufman's humor. He was actually sort of a mainstay in FCW. He was the manager for the Toxic Crusader when they won the first ever FCW Tag Team Championship. He was the first tag team champion with Toxic. So I mean, he's a very unique, quirky guy. I will say that as much. And his sense of humor tends to be very, very, very different from the rest of us.
One thing I will say before I wrap it up is that some things in James Gunn related material that I've seen, now that I've seen Toxic Avenger, I can safely say I think James Gunn may have taken a few notes. Nothing too crazy, mind you, but definitely I can see where some of his humor comes from, and I'll just leave it alone there.
I mean, you can also take it to the special effects departments too, because I mean, James Gunn's profound fondness for practical effects, whether we're talking about the first, even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was amazing in terms of how they brought those creatures and the designs of the characters to life. Those were basically stemmed from a lot of the trauma movies, because most of those trauma movies were special effects heavy. And the humor also too can be his humor can also tend towards, it can be rooted in trauma as well. I am definitely not surprised at that, but I also wanted to mention the special effect, because very special effects heavy filmmaker, and he's very detail oriented when he wants to have. He even made himself a role model for the angry monkeys in Superman to show how that technology worked. He made himself the model. So I just find that at least his sense of humor, it might be very different, but at least he knows he can kick him, make fun of himself every once in a while.
Couldn't agree more. And I think to close things out, in terms of the Toxic Avenger, I think its legacy, I don't know how it was received at the time. I mean, 1984. I mean, it's got a pretty big following now, so clearly there were a lot of people that did see it and like it at the time, I'm just going to assume. But I think its legacy has only gotten stronger as the years have gone on. Not only were there 3 sequels, but we just got a remake. I have not seen it, and Steve said it was good, so I'm gonna lean on his wisdom on that, but I will get around to it. But the movie got remade and it got several sequels, so it was clearly successful at what it was shooting for, and I'll just leave it at that. And it left a pretty significant legacy, so there is that.
If I also can add a couple more notches there on the legacy part, it also developed a very short-lived, but I find it a very awesome cartoon series, the Toxic Crusaders. That is it's basically, this is as kid-friendly as Trauma gets. So if you're looking for a kid-friendly trauma movie or trauma series, this is it. It has a lot of the humor, and also I believe they're coming up with I don't know if the game came out last year or this year, but there's also a Toxic Crusader video game that is either already came out or it's coming out in December. So, like, besides the remake, we also have the Toxic Crusader cartoon and the Toxic Crusader video game, and your former Toxic Crusader champion.
There you go. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of the Toxic Avenger? Let us know in the comments. We would love to read what you have to say. And I really enjoyed having you on, Steve. I'd love to bring it back on sometime. You have your Mason Media thing going on, and I love watching that and love seeing photos of that. What do you have coming up?
It's just came back from Philadelphia for FSCW Animate Philadelphia. I'm putting together. So I shot that. I shot 3 shows, and I'm actually going to put together a semi music video format of some of the action that you can catch later on the FSCW YouTube page when it becomes uploaded. But I'm also, I'm just trying to stay busy. I've done a promo package for Pro Wrestling Action Monster Bash, which is happening October 26th, which features 2 very good friends of mine going off against each other. Saeed Al-Sabah takes on Eddie Torres in a match that, if you're in Deltona, Florida, please go ahead and check that match out, because those are 2 best dudes who are one of the best people to not only outside the ring but also inside the ring. Next FSCW trip is going to be at Galaxy Columbus, where not only will we be putting on a show, FSCW show, but we're also putting a Galaxy Wrestling Entertainment show, and we're also hosting Ring of Honor in All Elite Wrestling. We're going to have Ring of Honor Final Battle that Friday. We're going to have AEW Collision, and somewhere in between or in the end, we're going to have FSCW and GWE. So I'm excited for that. I know it's not until a couple of months from now, but I'm already counting down the days and looking forward to it.
Steve also makes some killer edits of wrestling and wrestlers. I was watching his one on Adam Priest the other day. It's great. I'll link a couple in the description. He also did a Paul Feig tribute. I'll have Steve send it to me, or I'll find it and I'll link that as well.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I gotcha.
Thank you very much. And as far as ScaryMania VI goes, next up we will be continuing on. We are at the middle of the decade, and it's time to talk about, from the creator of the original Alien, the Return of the Living Dead.